In the spring of 2013, the Washington State Department of Ecology funded a statewide workshop series on low-impact development for real estate professionals. Mark Palmer, the city engineer for the city of Puyallup, Washington, shared some of his vast knowledge of low-impact development and pervious pavements with workshop participants. This short video provides highlights of that field trip.
The main objective was to take this almost 100% impervious right-of-way and convert it into 100% porous right-of-way. So as a demonstration project, what we've done is we've put pervious concrete on the south side sidewalk, and that's all the way up and down here, so that's all pervious concrete. And for a comparison and contrast, we've done permeable pavers on that side. Our basic problem here was we had impervious medium in here was preventing all the water from getting through and getting where it naturally wants to go into the ground. What you're standing on is porous asphalt. And since it looks so much similar to regular asphalt, I borrowed Steve's picture so I can just kind of show you when you get the water on that, it just disappears. We just tested the percolation rate on this 3 or 4 weeks ago. To my recollection, it's 375 inches an hour of percolation and infiltration rate through the porous pavement. Put that in perspective, the most intense rainfall storms we get here will be about 1 inch in 1 hour. That's about the most intense. Hurricane Katrina was somewhere around 1 inch an hour just for 27 hours, but that's still, this would have been able to handle Hurricane Katrina. This is the latest and best mixed design that we have, and this uses a higher grade asphalt. It's got a polymer emulsion in it, so it's a really high grade asphalt. What it does basically is it sticks to the rock better, and that's one of the things we need because we don't have a lot of the fines up here to capture a lot of that asphalt and keep it at the surface. That higher strength, higher sticky emulsion sticks to the rock better, stays on the surface. The other things we've done is we're allowing vibratory compaction. In the past we were concerned that we were going to lose the porosity of the pavement if we vibratory compacted like we do normal asphalt. We've done some tests with gyratory compaction, found the void levels was right where we needed it, still 21%, and it would infiltrate, so there's no reason not to do vibratory compaction. So all this pavement out here has been vibratory compacted just like you would regular asphalt. It gives, again, give you a longer lasting surface. The last thing we had is we've got rain gardens in the right-of-way. All through the winter, all through our rain events, all through those storms we had, we've not even seen any standing water in this at all. It's kind of a belt and suspenders system. If the pavement out here somehow has a problem, it does have a 1% slope, just a 1%, but it'll go off into the rain gardens and infiltrate there, same for the sidewalks. The one thing we've seen with our neighborhood rain garden programs is we've seen neighborhoods coalesce and actually get together and actually start having events together and actually do barbecues together. It's just been an unintended benefit of the programs. It's been great from a neighborhood standpoint. The neighborhood had concerns about speeding cars going up and down the street. So two of the things we've done to address that concern was we're giving you a narrower street. It's only 27 feet from curb to curb on this. Our standard street section would have been 36 feet from curb to curb. We also made it curvilinear. It's got a nice little couple 600-foot radius bends in this to curve it down, slowing the traffic down. So that was one of the goals and objectives of this program. So if you're not aware, what's underneath here basically is you got 3 inches of porous asphalt. You've got 2 inch of a finer grade aggregate that's there to help make it so the asphalt paving machines could pave out here. And then you've got 18 inches of big rock, 1 to 2 inch rock under here. Get a lot of void space in there, give you a lot of storage for that water to get through and stay in there until it infiltrates, but also gives that pavement a lot of strength. Again, a normal section out here on a regular pavement road would probably only be about 6 inches of rock. So inherently, you know this is going to be a much more structurally sound road for a longer period of time because we've got such a long, deep section of pavement underneath here. And as I mentioned before, the contrast we have with the pervious concrete is it's a rigid pavement, the strength's in the actual concrete itself, so all we need to put under here is enough rock for it to drain down. And I believe we've got 6 inches of rock underneath the sidewalks because of that. Of course, these do have to take load here because we are driving cars across the driveways, of course. But it is only a 5-inch thick section of concrete here. And the pervious concrete does look a little different. You know, you got to get used to that look. After you see enough of it down, you kind of learn to like it. It's actually it's a really durable project and works well. One of the things that makes pervious concrete work is they put fibers in it. And again, the reason the fibers are there is to give you more connection points with the glue. It just makes it so you have more points where the rock's touching the concrete cement and making that connection. Similar thing can be done with the porous asphalt. I know of no installation that has been a complete failure in the United States at this point. And I'm saying that both from an infiltration standpoint and from a durability standpoint. The first installation of porous asphalt in the United States was done in 1977 at Walden Pond in Massachusetts in a park. It's still there. It hasn't been maintained worth a darn. Once in a while they might take all the needles and leaves off it, but that's about it. It's still functioning as it was when it was originally put in. So a lot of this stuff has shown its durability. There's a highway in Arizona, in Phoenix, and again, this is now a highway, not a local road, and it's been there for over 20 years and still is performing great. The low speed or no speed turning motion is the most difficult, and for regular asphalt too. If you ever look at a regular asphalt parking lot, it has some of the similar issues, especially on high temperature days. That turning of the wheel torques the gravels on top and will disrupt that gravel a little bit. We've done a lot of things on the permeable asphalt to make it not so. People are pulling out of these driveways and doing those low speed turning motions out here, and we're not seeing any rattling. If you see it, it'll be fast too. It'll come really early in the pavement life, so I'm not seeing any of that. So I'm thus far very pleased with the performance of this. The biggest enemy we have for any pavement is studded tires. Studded tires kill anything. As far as cost, one of the things you need to consider, and I don't know if you're all familiar with current stormwater regulations, the DOE manuals that are out there, the stormwater regulations are going to require in detention situations, huge detention ponds. You're trying to meet basically the pre-European condition before we got here, and it was a forest and you had lots of forest cover and transpiration off in the air, or it would hit the forest duff and just kind of be held there. That's what you're trying to match with if you're driving a storm pond in hydrology now. That actually makes very, very large ponds. In some cases, it could take up to a third or more of a site. If you do pervious materials, you don't have to have that. Furthermore, you don't even have to have the pipes and the catch basins and all that other treatment mechanism. You don't need to have treatment vaults like storm filter vaults or wet ponds or those kind of things in order to make your development work. So again, if you're talking real estate, which I think that's who I'm talking to here, now you're talking lots. So there's, and sometimes in a storm pond, we could be talking 2, 3, 4 lots that you pick up by not having to have the stormwater and storm drainage features by doing pervious asphalt. So when you do your cost calculations and comparisons, you need to take that into account, because that's where, in a lot of cases, LID materials will actually win out. Best case in point I have is we're currently working on a grant. We did an analysis on that using it as a standard asphalt road. Then we also did it as a pervious concrete road. Because of the additional stormwater costs it would take us to build that with a standard dense graded asphalt and the storm pond, the conveyance, the pipes, the water quality treatment, it came out $100,000 cheaper for us to do pervious concrete than it would be to do it the conventional way. And pervious concrete and pervious asphalt, especially when we're talking polymer grades of asphalt, are not going to be that far apart. So when you look at life cycle costs, again, as a jurisdiction, again, this isn't necessarily developers, because developers will be out of the game by this point, but we look at a regular asphalt street. Regular asphalt street, we're trying to keep the water from going down through the pavement. We're doing everything we can. So after the pavement's been down for 7 years, what do? We go chip seal it. We're trying to keep that water out of there. So you don't do that with this stuff. We go out another 7 years after that and we do an overlay. Again, we're trying to keep that water out of that subgrade and out of that pavement. Those are two expenses you will not have with this, because we don't need to worry about the water getting in here. We want it to go through. And pavement naturally cracks and leaks. So you're not fighting nature basically in that case, because that's what this stuff does normally. So it's not going to clog up, and that's usually the other first response is, what's it going to do? Is it going to clog up? And generally it doesn't, but a regenerative air sweeper will fix most of that anyway.
How much maintenance fees are going to be attributed to this, as far as, like you said, in the wintertime, the studded tires, maybe snow plows digging this stuff up? Have you gone through a winter with this down?
New Hampshire studies on pervious pavements have shown that even if they do need to do treatments, they could do 75% less salt on porous streets. It's stuff actually surprisingly holds up a lot better and is a lot less, especially in this area, a lot less of a traction issue than regular pavement. Because think again, if our usual freeze thaw that we have in the Pacific Northwest Puget Sound region in particular, during the day when it gets hot and the sun actually gets to some of this black pavement, it heats up, melts the snow. Well, instead of just sitting there and making big puddles like it would on regular pavement, it goes down through the pavement. So when it freezes again that night, you don't have big sheets of ice. And dense graded pavement, you know that's a problem, because as soon as that sun goes down, that water's still sitting there, everything freezes, it's an ice skating rink. That doesn't happen with this stuff. That's one big benefit of that. We got 7 miles of alley in the city. We put gravel on every one of those every summer. Some of them we do it twice. So it's a lot of expense, a lot of effort. These sections that are out here become two things. They become a hydrology nightmare for the homeowners, because you got this dense graded material back there that gets raised up every year, because we come out here every year and put gravel on these things. We have to strip it off occasionally, but it's generally higher than the surrounding land, and all the water drains down to it and just sits there. And it becomes these ponds. And if you go behind Steve's house back here, you'll see he's got these little dikes down there trying to keep that out of his yard. The alleys on the back of all these houses will also be done as porous asphalt. By putting the permeable asphalt in there, we'll be solving the hydrology issue, and we'll also be solving a maintenance problem, because we won't have to go back in there and do that once or twice a year and worry about regrading it, redoing it. And it'll be a section similar to this, so it's going to be a very stout section. It'll handle gravel trucks. You guys got here just a little bit late, but the recycle truck had just come through here before you got here. Again, it handles the heavy loads quite well.
This look at Pervious Pavements was just an introduction to the topic. For more information, please see the resources and watch our companion video, Catching Rain, an overview to maintaining pervious pavements.